Welcome, everybody, to another wonderful, delightful storytelling episode of the Struggling Hunters, number 72. You have me, Joe, and you got all the way in Colorado, Eric. And
Hey,
tonight, before we get going again, I want to say thank you all for the comments that we've had. We've had one on our last episode. I know there were actually two. We picked up another one tonight. And I just want to say thank you. We appreciate it. I know we're maybe seem a little childish, but we we really do appreciate it. But yeah, so like, subscribe, give you a little bit of heads up about what tonight's going to be. Me and Eric are sitting there before we hopped on doing some e-scouting in Colorado and Utah. And that was spurred off of my hunt from this last weekend, and we'll get into that. And then we'll throw some other things in there. But just so if you're listening, stay tuned. We kind of got some fun topics to listen to. Hopefully, we won't bore you or stretch it out too long. But anyways, yeah. So we'll go ahead and I'll kind of you want to take over, Eric, and get on about our e-scouting adventures?
Yeah, man. I mean, yeah, whatever. I actually didn't know that we got some comments. So as you were talking about that, I wanted to look at them real quick. And I'll kind of follow up with what Joe said. Is thanks for the comments, man. They're real important to us whenever we're in this growing phase. I think whenever you're a podcaster, you're probably always in a growing phase, but we're like desperately in a growing phase. So thanks for the support. Thanks for the subscribes. Thanks for the likes, man. We really appreciate it. I mean, that's just coming from the bottom of our heart. When we first started this, I don't think that you always kind of dream of the like big numbers and like, oh, going to be the next big thing or whatever. But whenever reality kicks in, you're like, oh, well, we got to kind of break through the noise and try to get there. And I feel like I might have said something like this before, but you just get that little bit of a few subscribers and a few comments here and there. It really kind of makes our week and really makes it worth us to keep going. So definitely inspiring us. Hopefully we're inspiring you through our conversation and storytelling and stuff like that, but you also inspire us to keep going because of your support. So like I said, thank you guys. With that said though, yeah, me and Joe, we kind of got on and just started doing some e-scouting, which was kind of fun, and kind of was checking out both of our areas and where we were going and what we were doing, which was pretty helpful. Joe wanted to show me what he was seeing, and we'll get into that in here in a minute. And then we tried to transfer that information to Colorado to see if we can kind of mimic the same idea, or where I might be able to find some activity on my side of the mountain. So it's pretty fun. We were kind of having fun doing it. Matter of fact, it was kind of got to the point where we were like, maybe we should do a podcast tonight at some point, huh? So yeah, we got there, and I guess leading up to that, my hunt starts this weekend. So it's going to be a little bit crazy. I'm going to basically do 2 days of hunting and then take a day off and then do 2 more days of hunting. Just scheduling thing with sports and stuff with my kid, and happened to be a coach this year. So a little bit of scheduling conflict there, but I guess responsibilities are responsibilities. So hopefully I get some good hunting in. Gonna just pound the dirt as hard as I can while I can, and probably gonna end up be tired by the end of the week, but the hard work hopefully will pay off. And I don't know, I don't really have expectations of really being, if I am, great, right? Like, opening weekend, get my bull or a cow, because I do have an either or, but I gonna kind of do it like I used to do it and go for the bull first, and then if I'm really having a tough time, I'll try to get a cow also, or try to get a cow if I can't get a bull. But anyways, yeah, it'd be great if I could, get in there and end it quick, but I'm prepared for a long season. And so I'm excited. I'm excited to get going. And Joe, the inspiration of Joe and all his activity that he's been seeing is inspiring me to just, get out there. And I mean, it just feels like a different year for us. I mean, we've been doing this podcast for a little over a year. We kind of thought that we'd find success a little faster than we have, but this year just been kind of keeping us charged up to keep going and keep pursuing the animals. I mean, it's not like we would stop by any means, but it's definitely keeping us charged up and keeping us excited for sure. Just the activity that we have seen. So that's pretty much, I'm trying to think if there's anything more about my hunt that I really have, but since I haven't really started yet, I guess that's about it. But pretty excited about it. It's coming up in a couple of days, so I'm excited, ready to get going. With that said, Joe, you want to kind of take it off from there and kind of review your weekend?
So like Eric said, we were trying to transfer over what I was saw what I acquired knowledge, what how my weekend went this last weekend, kind of threw I guess a dart at the dartboard, did some e-scouting, found a north slope, found a bull, I guess, a bull in the canyon that had a finger ridge in the middle of it, and decided that that's where I'd go up Friday and check out. And as I did, Friday night was pretty cool as far as like being able to see stuff for me. I was trying to count. I think I saw at least 6 bulls Friday night. Well, 6 sightings, I guess. I don't know if they were all the same bulls, but yeah. So I got up to the spot where I wanted to get to, and happened to stumble across this glassing point that I could look down into, and got set up. Didn't have my phone scope or spotting scope set up, but I got glassing, and I looked down to the drainage to my left, and it's like, oh, that looks like an elk down there. And so put my binoculars on. I was like, oh, it is. And I was like, well, I'm gonna throw out the spotting scope and put the phone scope on it and see what I can get. But by the time I with the binoculars, I could tell he was a good bull. Like if I was hunting a big bull tag, like this was a big bull. This was a good bull. And but by the time I was able to get the spotting scope on it and the phone scope on it, they would already made its way down into the trees. So I was unable to get good footage of it. I think I got some footage of like its butt disappearing, but you can't see the trophy on the head, I guess, if you want to be whatever about it. But so I started glassing this finger ridge down in there, and and when I first got to the glassing this point, though, I should say that I did see an elk disappear into the woods on the top part of this ridge, but I couldn't quite make out what it is. I believed it was a bull. So I still went back glassing this particular part, and I happened to have the spotting scope and phone scope set up. So I was able to, this another bull kind of made its way from like the left side of this ridge and crossed over on the right side. It wasn't all that big of a finger ridge on this top part, so he crossed it fairly quickly, but I did get some footage of it. And so he disappeared onto the right side, and then he fed back up. And then meanwhile, I looked back down to this drainage again, and there's another bull where this bull was, the bigger bull. So I put the spotting scope on him, got a little bit of footage of him, and he fed down and away. So then I went back to where I saw the this other bull. He had fed back up from the right side, heading back to the left side, or kind of went to the center of it. And I got footage of him, and he starts walking down the spine of this finger ridge and disappears into the trees. And then I look over again. It's probably, I'm not probably telling on the right sequence, but it happened again where there's another bull down in this drainage.
Yes.
And I was like, holy cow. So he did the same thing, kind of fed down, and it disappeared into the bottom, into the trees again. And then I look up down the finger ridge a little further, and there's another little bull in the little opening, and I got some footage of him feeding back and forth, and then down to the left on the finger ridge. So it had been like an east facing slope. There's another bull that was sitting there, and he was looking deep. I think he was looking at the bulls that fed down. I don't know if he was looking at them, but I think he could hear them. He was looking down in the direction that those bulls fed away into. And then he fed up towards his other bull, and it got too late, and I came home, or I went back to the truck to go to bed.
Right.
But so I was like, well, I'm heading down into there come Saturday morning. And so I got up, headed down in there, and I was trying to play the wind. I said that's one of the things I'm trying to watch. So the wind was kind of, when I first got up to where I was glass, and the wind was headed down the draw. So I was like, well, I don't want to head down just yet. And so I waited till it started blowing back up. And while I was doing that, and further around to my right, around this the bowl of the mountain there, the range, bull. Am I saying them enough difference to distinguish, not lose people?
I'm keeping up with you. I think so, though. I think you're doing a good job.
And so I look around, and then there are ways around it from me. There's two other bulls that they're kind of eating breakfast together, like kind of keeping tabs on each other. And I guess I should say, for those that don't know, is that I'm hunting in the unit where I can either get a spike or a cow. So I'm seeing all these bulls, and everyone's probably saying, well, why the heck aren't you going after them? Well, I can't without, I could if I was trying to get some footage of them, but as far as the hunt goes, I can't. And so anyways, I make my way down to where I saw the bull at the top of this finger ridge. And this, I guess you call it a scrape. I don't know. This area was like not necessarily tore up, but it was bare ground, bare earth. And then there's a couple good I guess piss spots where they look like they just stood there, and they're just let her flow in three different spots along this ridge here. So this ridge just smelt like elk, and I thought for sure that I would be getting into something. And so I kept the wind in my face, went down a little further, sat down, got a little spot where I could set and do some calling and have a couple of shooting lanes. Did some spike squills and some cow calls. And meanwhile, I haven't heard anything. Like, I'm not hearing cows. I'm not hearing bulls bugle. And I sat there for a while to see if something come in. Like, I sat there for, more or less took a break. And but nothing come in. Went down a little further. And then I should add too, as I came down this ridge, before I got to the top of this little finger ridge, I was crossing a lot of deadfall that I could not see, because the Quakies they're growing up enough to where you can't see the deadfall. And I think this was a burn spot at one point in time, or not. I know it was a burn spot. So that's why all the trees were down, is because they all got burned and washed out and fell over. So it was kind of a hike to get to where I was, even though it was downhill, and it was fairly easy going, but all this deadfall didn't make it fun.
Yeah.
And so I get down there a little bit, drop down a little further. My plan was to go down to the bottom and go around this point and then start climbing up the other side and kind of coming out late at night. I was going to find a spot to set and watch and then just come out after dark. But then I got looking around me and like this other ridge or other hillside was fairly steep. And I was like, man, if there's that much deadfall on that side and there probably is on the other side, like I don't want to come out of this at night. Like it's one thing coming up a steep hill, but throwing on deadfall is not good. So I turned around and started heading back up. And I wanted to make a note too that you know what elderberries are?
Yeah, yeah.
So I'll go kind of not a rabbit hole, but just a sidetracked a little bit. And I want to make sure to get out there. So these elderberry bushes were like picked over. Like they seem to be chomping on these elderberry bushes.
Huh.
And so I think that's a little mental note to kind of keep in too, as if the elk are running in and out of the area, that the elderberry bushes are picked over. Like, not the berries, but like the branches, like the bushes were like, like you were pruned.
Oh, okay.
Like, they weren't overgrown anymore. Like they were pruned back from being eaten on. So that was one of the interesting things that I noticed on that ridge too. And the other interesting thing was these quaking aspen trees. Like they weren't very big. They're still growing. And I think they're about 1.5 inches in diameter. But like there was a handful of them along the trail that were just like snapped in half. They weren't not bent over, like, like pushed over, like, 3.5, 4 feet up the tree. It was just snapped in half. And
go ahead. Well, I think
I was just gonna say I've never seen that before, but
so in your mind, was it kind of like these big bulls kind of running through there and kind of breaking them off on the side, or what, do you think it was something else?
I think they're I should have looked a little closer to see if I can see some velvet on them, but it was almost like they were sticking their tines on these
and just busting them off,
like turning their head and like snapping them in half.
Okay, 10-4. Okay, that makes sense. That probably makes more sense.
Because it wasn't like they were pushed over, like they were still vertical. They're just 3.5, 4 feet up. They were just like snapped in half. And it wasn't like they were bent in half, like bowed. It was literally
just
break.
Snapped.
Yeah.
Huh.
But so that was fun. That was like I've never been in. I've seen areas where elk have been, but I've never really been in an area that like had that much activity.
Yeah, that's kind of amazing. So I'm not 100% sure if you covered it, but it's kind of the hot take of kind of why you chose that spot and how you chose that spot, as far as the terrain and the fact that there wasn't like any. I'm trying to hand it off to you, but I'll just say it, like the fact of not much hunting pressure and why you chose to go that way.
So like I don't know. I didn't know what the hunting pressure would be like. I just chose it because it was a north facing slope, and there was a finger ridge down in there that was not steep.
Okay. So that was the biggest reason why?
Correct.
Oh, okay. But on your way out there though, and the other hunters that were in the area, they were all hitting the south.
Oh, correct. Yeah. So I got there. So I end up not getting out to the spot till like 4:35, and I still needed to get into my hunting clothes, get changed, and then take off. And as I was doing so, getting set up, there was like people rolling up in their side by sides and their 4-wheelers, and they were parking on the other side of the road from me, but they were all headed on to the south side. Like I was trying to remember how many people there was, but like it was, like I think it was one group of 4-wheelers and a side by side, and there's already one 4-wheeler parked there when I got there. And but they seem to have all just taken off to the south side. I haven't gotten on Google or on X to look to see maybe what they were heading towards, but yeah, like there was nobody back where I was, and it wasn't that hard of a hike from the truck. So, watch those areas of close to the truck, but north facing and little saddles or little flat areas on a finger ridge where elk would like to be. And that seems like they liked it.
Yeah.
And it was a new burn. I will say it was not a new burn, but it was a burn that happened probably 4 or 5 years ago. And there's a lot of kind of looked like fresh grass too. Like the grass wasn't tall, wasn't overgrown. It was fairly short. So it was probably kind of tender to eat.
But you also said that there was a lot of quakies and stuff laid over, and so I guess kind of what I was getting at with all that is I kind of feel like that might have been what deterred the other hunters from going that way, is all the laid down, the hard that they knew it was gonna, they knew it was gonna be a hard
area. Correct.
Yeah.
It would be a hard area to get into and to pull something out like the, it wasn't like, oh, look, there's a deadfall, I'm going to walk around it. It was you had to navigate your way around like everything, either around it, jump over it, step over it, sit down and shimmy over it, or or something, like it was work to get down there and work to get out.
Even though it was flat, it was still a little work.
Yeah.
Or flatter, I guess.
Right. Like some of the areas on the not clear cut, but the meadows that I walked along in that finger ridge, like I still had to navigate those clear meadows because there's still deadfall in them.
Right. But it's kind of a point that we've been noticing a little bit is, well, and I guess that's kind of the point of this too, is it wasn't really that far away from the road. Me and Joe, right. we always tried to, we've every year really, we try to go at least a mile away from the road, and if not deeper, and like that was always our tactic, but kind of what Joe's saying is it wasn't really that far away from the main road there. Well, main back road, I guess you could say, right?
Yeah, it was a back road off the main. It was the back road off the main back road.
Yeah. So, I mean, there might be some caveats there of maybe it's not quite a main road, but still a lot more traffic up there. But those elk weren't that far off the road is kind of the whole point to that, is
right.
Just a little rougher terrain to walk through. So the pressure was a little different. And
I would too go in there, go after them, but I wouldn't be going in there after them unless the elk were bugling, just because it's, like I don't want to be running around all that deadfall.
Yeah.
Trying to call them where I'm at to make it happen.
Just call them up to your truck.
Exactly.
Works every time.
It does.
What is that? How does that go? Works every time, 60% of the time, something like that.
Works every time, 75% of the time. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's just interesting though. Like that's kind of what I'm kind of, so I say that about how it wasn't that far off the road, but I'm also a proponent of being off the road because the activity that we've seen this year, especially, I mean, it's been a good year for us so far, and knock on wood, it stays that way. But cause that was something to take note of. We talked about earlier a little bit is when I went hunting with Joe, how many people were kind of up on the road. I mean, there wasn't a lot, but we barely saw anybody out in the deep woods or the meadow or the canyons and stuff. We didn't really see anybody. And as soon as we walked up where the road was, there's some side by sides and four wheelers. And then there was other traffic on the way out coming on down in. point is it was just kind of funny because it was just kind of something to take note of, that a lot of people don't really, I mean, they kind of stay closer to the road, if you will. And so to get away from the road a little ways is pretty beneficial for you.
Right. Well, that's like, that's exactly. And
I do feel like I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth a little bit, because I'm trying to take one instance and then compare it with your instance. I'll just throw that out there.
right. And like, I was gonna, like wanting to say too is elk don't like people.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know if you knew that, but it's 100% true 100% of the time. Well, I guess unless you live in wherever it is there in Colorado, where they just go through. Is it Estates, Colorado, where they just wander through the town?
Oh yeah, there's some areas. I was thinking more like a Yellowstone is probably
Right.
more identifiable for people, to where the elk will just hang out right by the lodge.
But typically elk don't like people. So, and so you want to be a little bit further away. So they're going to be places where people aren't going to be. Like just, that cow elk that we had last week, like the wind changed. And I don't think the wind changed for very long and she was gone.
Uh-huh.
He didn't wait around to see what we were. So
Nope, she got a whiff of us. Got a whiff of my
of your Panther,
Old Spice. Oh, yeah, my Panther cologne.
yeah,
So you knew what I was referencing.
yeah, I did.
Okay. Yeah, my Panther cologne that works 100% of the time, or every time, at least 60% of the time. I know we're saying it wrong, but
Right.
to those that are listening, if you get the reference, you'll probably laugh a little bit.
Uh, but yeah, but they're going to be where they're going to be, where they don't feel the pressure, and they're going to be waiting for you to make, for kind of maybe for you to make the move. So you got to be on your guard, even if you are close to the road. It's not just because you're close to the road, you're going to see them any easier. They're still going to be on alert. But
Yeah. I was watching a meat eater, might have been on YouTube. It doesn't really matter, but it was a meat eater video. And Giannis brought up the fact that the elk have 18-inch noses, which I don't know if they're really that long, but they got those long noses, and they could just smell you so fast, so quick, and kind of sticks in my brain a little bit, that 18-inch nose.
yeah,
I think he said 18-inch. I don't know. That's what I'm sticking with. But the point is just they have those long noses that can just identify you so quickly. And that's what happened to me and Joe. And I mean, I think we said it last week, but at the end of the day, I'm kind of glad that we got winded. But besides the fact, I mean, it was a fun experience. It was the whole thing, but I guess it was, yeah, I guess it was still last week, 2 weekends ago after this comes out. But anyway, yeah, it was just a crazy experience, but that's something that's been rattling in my brain, is how, they just have those big noses, and that's what they do. That's their
right,
main sense, is using that nose. So just
right.
something to kind of consider when you're out there. And I mean, it's hard. I mean, especially like for us, when we were up in the trees, that wind was in our favor, and we walked down in that, we started to put a stock on that elk, and that wind swirled just one. I mean, it seems like it might have swirled just once or twice, and she was gone. I mean, just did
Yeah,
not mess around at all. So
right,
didn't even see us, just took off, man. She doesn't have to see us with, those elk don't have to see you with their eyes. They just have to smell you, and they're gone.
right.
So
Yeah,
it was definitely a big learning lesson. Like made me realize how important the wind is. That was a pretty big lesson. Make me reconsider some of my moves.
right. Well, that's like how many times I don't know that, like, I go to take off, and I just, I was like, oh, I want to go from point A to point B. And I'm going. And
Mm-hmm.
like some people are like, oh, if the wind's not blowing the way I want it to, I don't do it. And I'm always like, yeah, whatever.
Right. I want to hit this point. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
But
my biggest problem.
now it's kind of like, okay, maybe, really paying attention to which way the wind. So, I mean, if you pay attention to which way the wind's blowing, and then you just you got to mark that area off as a huntable zone. You kind of just blew that area whichever direction the wind is. So, maybe it could help you maybe decide where to hunt. Like, okay, I'm going to go past this zone. I know I'm blowing it out with my scent, but I'm gonna get to this other area and I'm not going to pay attention to my backside really. I mean, it's not to say not to, but yeah.
Hey, I was gonna ask you a question. It's kind of a little off the wall, but or off the cuff, if you will. Uh, after I left that the other weekend, and you went back down in that area, you went back down to or no, you went over on another ridge though, right? Like where we saw the cow.
Right. Yeah. I went around a little. Well, I dropped actually. You talking about Sunday night after you
Yeah,
left?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, Sunday night I went on the other side. Yeah.
My question is though, is did you try to glass up those bucks again?
I was going to, but I was set in a spot where I couldn't.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, I think I was gonna ask you last week and I completely forgot, but it just popped in my head this week. So
Yeah, I kind of want to like when the season's over, run back up there to see if I can see them.
yeah, definitely. They were nice, man.
Yeah, they were.
Uh, you should try to get like your best picture or something, put it on the old Insta.
Yeah, I will. I will. Like, I thought I had them on, but I got them shared to a Google Drive, and I thought I downloaded them onto my phone, but I didn't.
Gotcha.
But I'll do that
Gotcha.
because they're not the greatest pictures, but if you can get through the graininess of the pictures, and you'll see they're they're two good bucks. I don't know that I've ever really in the wild have taken pictures myself of that size of bucks.
Oh, they were both monsters. I mean, anybody'd be tickled to take those out.
Yep. I know I
So
would be.
yeah, for sure. For sure. Um, well, here's another thing kind of off the cuff, but since we forgot to bring it up last week, and so I'll bring it up.
Okay.
What one thing me and Joe kind of were talking about and realized when we were hiking is we didn't think we were that bad out of shape, but it definitely our fitness level definitely played a role. And so we kind of made a little friendly, well, I don't know, gentleman's bet or whatnot. I mean, we didn't even bet money, if we're being completely honest, but our goal is that we're I guess a challenge more than anything. We're challenging each other to lose about 30 pounds by next year. Which, I mean, 30 pounds by next year should go pretty easy, but the problem is staying motivated to do it. So I'm putting it on the podcast, kind of putting it out there on the airwaves to make us responsible to get her done. So
Right. And
I don't know if you want to talk about that a little deeper, or like like some of your thoughts to it, or
like some of that came through too is if you've been following our podcast, so we've talked about getting in shape and kind of some of our goals, I guess, if you will, of what we want to do at some point in our lives as far as marathons and 5Ks and whatnot, and as far and health as well. But as you know, we were talking too, and both of us are 200 plus some.
that's a really nice polite way to say that, Joe.
And so and I say that because we talk about wanting to pack elk out, and it kind of stemmed from the fact that here we are setting 200 pounds plus on the hoof, and we want to throw on a 40-pound pack and pack that out, like now we're really maybe close pushing 300 pounds on the hoof.
Yeah.
and and so if we can drop down that weight and get down closer around the 200 or under margin, then that's in a way, if you think about it, that's 80 pounds of meat that you can be packing out.
Yeah.
Not to say I'm really going to throw on an 80-pound pack and pack, that maybe it will happen. I won't say it won't, but how much nicer will that be to come out of the woods just, a few pounds lighter, especially if I got us back someplace in deadfall, down a steep hill.
Deadfall country. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
and then I think too is just being, we want to be healthier. And so I think by doing this it's going to help us to go down the road to be healthier and be better hunters
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
better people in general, healthier people.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just kind of at that point where it's just got to get her done and challenge ourselves and putting it out here on the airwaves to get it done. So yeah, we'll probably, like, as we get going and, I think hunting season, we might lose a few pounds automatically just because it's hunting season and we're walking everywhere. But for the style of hunting that we do, I mean, it's in our best interest to be in the best shape as we can. And I think we both have kind of negated that over the years, and it's kind of caught up to us as we've gotten older, if you will. Speaking for myself, but Joe can say yes or no. I mean, I don't want to speak for the guy, but
I concur.
but yeah, so yeah, I'm just excited to do it. Excited to challenge, to meet the challenge. And I, like you said, man, I think it'll be better everywhere. I mean, we'll be able to cover more ground in a day, without getting tired, and have more energy. And I think it'll just make us better all the way around, better hunters and everything else. So yeah, I think I'm pretty excited to do the challenge. There's something else that I was going to throw in there and kind of forgot it with all my other rambling. But
I was gonna kind of I just wanted to make sure I get out my takeaways too. And before, just as a reminder of what those north facing slopes, those little finger ridges coming down off of them, especially not that aren't quite so steep. And like I said, watching for elderberry bushes being pruned pretty good.
yep.
Kind of help how heavy they are in the area. And yeah, just and you don't have to be far from the road. We talked about it, I think, a couple of podcasts ago about an article we read. I think we talked about it. I know we both read an article, and I don't know that we really, anyways, you don't have to be far from the road to find them. You just got to find the pocket where they want to be.
Yep. Yeah. And I mean, that's the thing, is we're finding it to be pretty true. And so it's good. We're just, our style of podcast is kind of storytelling. And I mean, I think that's kind of where we've found ourselves as more storytellers and stuff, but we also like to throw out some hot tips and just tell the story of what we're finding in real time and how we're figuring it out. So,
yeah.
I think that's all I got. What about you, Joe?
Yeah, that's all I got.
Let's keep it. Yeah. Let's get out of here on a high note.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right. Well, if that's all you got, I'll get us out of here. And guys, again, thanks for the support. Thanks for the comments. Thanks for the subscribes. Thanks for the likes. Really appreciate it. Like I said earlier, from the bottom of our hearts, we really appreciate it. Thank you guys. With that said, until next week, hopefully we got some awesome stories for you guys. Make sure you tune back in. Have a good one. We'll talk to you later. We're out.
Bye.